learned to play tennis with the wrong hand. I'm left-handed, but somehow, as a girl, I learned to play right-handed. I think it's because everyone around me was holding the tennis racket in their right hand, and so were all of the teachers that I had. Picture me out there swinging away with my off arm, and I was learning next to my two sisters, one of whom had really gorgeous, effortless strokes. My backhand was okay because I used two hands, but my forehand, it fought me every time. And I decided that that meant something about me, that I just wasn't the talented one. It took me years to see what was actually going on. And here's why I'm telling you this. You may be doing the exact same thing right now every time you look at your own doodles and decide that they aren't good enough. In this episode, I'm walking you through 3 truths that could completely change what you see when you look at your own work. Why talent is never really the problem. Why the imperfection that you keep apologizing for may actually be your greatest asset and what makes you unique. I also want to cover the one skill that actually stands between a very simple doodle and a design that someone would be happy to buy. Welcome to the Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm LaFollette. After getting laid off in my late 50s, I found myself adrift with no income and no sense of self. But my mom always said, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So I decided to reinvent myself and build an online creative business from scratch. Now I help women like you do the same. Let's dive in because it's never too late to create. Welcome to this week's episode of the Creative Business Spark podcast. I want to go back to that tennis story for just a second because I left something out. For years, I really believed I just wasn't the athletic one. But that wasn't the whole story. I wasn't missing talent. I was swinging with my offhand, comparing my weakest arm to my sister's easiest, most natural strokes. That's not a talent gap. That's a setup that was never fair to begin with. And a lot of you are doing the exact same thing, just not with tennis, with your doodles. Truth number 1. The problem was never your talent. Here's what I see happen all the time. You look at your own work, your wonky little flowers, your lopsided teacup, that line that didn't go quite where you wanted it to, and you decide right there that you're not good enough. But look about what you're actually comparing. You're holding your very first attempts up against someone else's years of practice. Of course there's a gap. That gap isn't proof that you lack talent. It's proof that you're at the beginning. Let me tell you about Pauline. Pauline used to own a nail salon in Wales, and during her school years, a teacher told her that she had no artistic talent. So she believed it, and she didn't pursue art for years. Then she found surface pattern design, and it turns out that teacher was completely wrong. Pauline creates the most beautiful commissioned pieces now. She also sells her work at her local post office in her town in Wales, and she has commissioned baby blankets and onesies for relatives. She was never short on talent. She was short on someone telling her the truth and believing in her. So let me be that person for you today. The doubt you carry may have very little to do with what you're actually capable of. Truth number 2, the imperfection you've been hiding is the things buyers actually want. This one surprises people, so stay with me. That slightly imperfect hand-drawn quality in your doodles, that's not a flaw. It may be your single greatest asset. Think about it. People are surrounded by generic, mass-produced, machine-perfect designs everywhere they look, and they're tired of it. They're craving something that feels like a real human made it, something with a little soul. I think about Kyle. She ran her own graphic design and advertising agency for over 30 years, but surface pattern design was brand new to her. She took her bold, hand-inked designs on a variety of different products to her local church bazaar over the holidays a few years ago. The kind of art that makes you smile the second you see it. She has a very quirky approach, and her designs have a wonderful personality to them. 3 hours later, she'd sold over $1,000 worth of her products, and then almost another 1,000 came in from follow-up orders. Here's the part I want you to really hear. Nobody bought her work in spite of the fact that it was quirky. They bought it because it was quirky and really fun and beautiful and unique. That personality that you keep trying to sand away is the very thing that makes your work special. So stop hiding it. Truth number 3, what you're missing isn't a better hand or a better skill at drawing. It's actually turning your doodles into a repeating pattern so that you can leverage them in more ways. It's not your talent. It's not the imperfections. It's actually what stands between a doodle and what someone would love to pay for. And that comes through the skill of creating a repeating pattern. A single doodle is lovely on its own, but it becomes something you can sell when you learn to turn it into a seamlessly repeating pattern in Adobe Illustrator, one that can go on fabric, wallpaper, stationery, and so much more. That's the piece most women are missing. Not more talent, not a steadier hand, just that process. And Maria understood this. She's a watercolor artist living in a village of 40 people in southern Sweden. And she was already talented long before she found me selling her watercolor prints on a variety of different products. She wanted to learn how to put her big watercolor pieces into a repeat using Illustrator so that she could create a new line of linen dresses. Because she learned my 3 golden rules, the exact sequence that makes a repeat work. Once she had the steps, she went back to her watercolor and she built a variety of her different pieces into repeating patterns that are now on pillows, tea towels, tote bags, and as I mentioned, a whole new line of linen dresses. I actually own one of those dresses. I've worn it a dozen times. She didn't have to change her style. She just needed to learn the one skill that turned her watercolor work into a repeating pattern. Let's bring these 3 truths together. The problem was never your talent. The imperfection you've been hiding is the very thing that makes your work worth buying. And the only real gap between where you are and where you want to be is a single learnable skill. I want you to look at your own doodles the way I finally learned to look at my forehand. Not as proof of what you're missing, but as the beginning of something that could eventually be yours. Wonky flowers and all. You were never not good enough. You were just at the beginning. And being at the beginning is a wonderful place to be. So here's what I'd love for you to do next. I have a free ebook called Craft a Career You Love in Surface Pattern Design. It walks you through all of the different ways women are turning simple doodles into things they wear, gift, and sell. It's just a chance to see what's possible before you decide anything else. I'll put the link right below this video. If you're listening to the podcast, the link is in the show notes. because seeing the possibilities is often the moment everything starts to feel real. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. It actually does help get my videos in front of more people. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to it on your favorite podcast player and forward it on to a friend who might need to hear this message today. I always like to say in closing that I am LaFollette. And remember, it's never too late to create. That's it for today, and I'll see you again next week.